Bonjour tout le monde. Thanks for being here today. Before we begin, I want to comment on some news that has been breaking this morning out of Alberta. As many of you know, yesterday wildfires overtook the city of Fort McMurray. All residents of the city were ordered to evacuate. Premier Notley has said that this is the largest fire evacuation in Alberta's history. While the full extent of the damage isn't yet known, we certainly do know that for those who have been affected, this fire is absolutely devastating. It's a loss on a scale that is hard for many of us to imagine. I want to say to the residents of Fort McMurray, Canadians are with you. Our thoughts are with you. Our prayers are with you. As Prime Minister, I want you to know that our government and all Canadians will stand by you and support you now and when it is time to rebuild. Last night, I spoke with Premier Notley and assured her that we would do all that we can to help the people of Fort McMurray in the days, weeks, and months to come. L'Alberta a subi de grandes pertes, mais nous allons surmonter cette épreuve ensemble, en tant que voisins, amis et Canadiens. C'est ce qu'on fait au Canada. C'est vraiment qui nous sommes. On se moque souvent de notre politesse, mais les Canadiens ne restent pas dans leur coin les bras croisés. Nous cherchons toujours à aider. Si nous avons l'occasion de faire une différence, de contribuer.
The opportunity to make a difference, to make a concrete difference and a positive difference, we will always grasp that opportunity. I know that our government has been focusing on this for the past 6 months.
From our focus on creating good, well-paying jobs for Canadians, to our commitments on climate change, to our welcoming of 25,000 Syrian refugees, we have started to deliver the real change that Canadians said they wanted and needed. Perhaps the best examples of this are the middle-class tax cut and the Canada Child Benefit. 1 month after taking office, we passed legislation that cut taxes for the middle class and raised taxes on the wealthiest 1% of Canadians. As a result, over the last 4 months, nearly 9 million Canadians have seen more money on their paychecks. That's more money that middle-class Canadians have to save, to invest, and to grow the economy. Pour aider les familles canadiennes, nous avons introduit la nouvelle.
To help Canadian families, we've introduced the new Canada Child Benefit. It is simpler than the system it replaces. It's a monthly check, non-taxable, and will give more money to 9 out of 10 Canadian families. The Canada Child Benefit will be in Canadians' bank accounts from the month of July onwards. These are just 2 of the commitments that we have delivered on in the past 6 months.
On June 29th, when American President Barack Obama and Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto joined me here in Ottawa for the next North American Leaders Summit. I'm also very much looking forward to the formal state visit from President Peña Nieto, which will take place in the days leading up to the summit. I think that over the last 6 months, we've had a good start. But that's all it is, a start. There's much more hard work ahead of us than behind us, and we're excited to do it. This morning, I told my caucus colleagues that if we want to keep bringing real change to Canadians, we have to spend the next 3.5 years the way we've spent the last 6 months, working hard, listening, and constantly looking for new and innovative ways to strengthen and grow the heart of Canada's economy, the middle class.
Over the past 6 months, I've had the opportunity to meet with many Canadians and above all to listen to them. They've told me how worried they are about the future, but they've also told me that they are hopeful that things really will improve in the upcoming years. These hopes and fears are always with me. They're always at the forefront of my thought because these are the people to whom we're accountable. As we've been doing for the past 6 months, we will continue to work hard to ensure that we do not let them down. Thank you once again for being here, and I'd now be delighted to take any questions you may have.
CTV. Mr. Prime Minister, you said you're going to do all you can for the people of Alberta. What concretely are you doing right now?
We've been engaged, obviously, in the Government Operations Centre, which is coordinating different levels of government and different government agencies to make sure that all the help that is needed is being delivered immediately. And that involves different agencies from Canadian Forces to organizations like the Canadian Red Cross, who is, of course, very, very engaged in this. We have mobilized a certain number of Canadian Forces aircraft to be there for supporting the province of Alberta if it becomes necessary and as it becomes necessary. And we are responding in an ongoing fashion to the changing situation and to the needs that come up. We are in close and active communication with the Government of Alberta and through the Government Operations Centre with multiple stakeholders, including firefighters from across the country, and we continue to be very alert to the ongoing crisis.
A follow-up video was released yesterday of hostage Robert Hall. I know you said you don't negotiate, nor do you pay ransom. What can you do for him?
This is an active situation. One of the fundamental responsibilities of any government is to keep its citizens safe, and we are engaged in that. However, as this is an active situation, I would ask everyone to understand that I'm not going to give further details on this and impress upon everyone once again the importance of respecting the family's privacy. They are all going through extraordinarily difficult times, and we need to make sure that we're respectful of that.
Good morning. What is the government going to do for Alberta? Are you going to be sending troops? Are you going to be sending financial assistance? Answer: we are reacting to the needs. It's an active, ongoing, developing situation. We have alerted the Canadian Forces. The Canadian Forces are looking at using air support if need be, if they need to be there in Alberta. It will depend on how the situation develops. I made a direct commitment to the Premier yesterday when I said we are there to do everything that the Albertans need us to do to offer help in this deeply worrying situation. We are offering coordination support, and we are ensuring that there are people that are able to go and directly fight these fires that are, of course, burning at the moment. Question. Ms. May said this morning that this is something that is attributable to climate change. Answer. One of the points that we do understand is that with climate change there will be more extreme events. As we all know, it is difficult to establish a direct link between a particular fire and climate change. That is not necessarily the most fruitful road to go down. Every year there are fires, there are floods, and our responsibility is to make sure that we react to these situations and to also look at matters such as how we spend on infrastructure. That is something that we're doing at the moment, how we can be ready for floods and so forth, what we can do to minimise the impact of such events in the future.
John Bryden, sorry. Soupy.
One of the things that you haven't done yet in the first 6 months is to set up the promised committee to look at electoral reform. It's to the point that some advocates of proportional representation and some opposition critics are wondering whether you're just dragging the puck long enough that it's not going to happen in time for the next election. What is the holdup with that?
We made a very firm commitment that we would ensure that this next election this last election was the last one done under first past the post, and we intend to keep that commitment. We've put forward a number of different ways that we will be examining this question. One of them is a parliamentary committee, one is direct engagement by the minister, and the other is a form of public consultation that we will be unveiling in the coming weeks as well. As pertains to that committee, there are ongoing discussions with the other parties as to the mandate and the focus of that committee. As you may have gathered, there is one party who is insistent that there needs to be a referendum, and they're laying that out as a ground rule. Another party has a particular perspective on the outcome that they're very attached to. We are in discussions with the other parties about how to set up that committee, and we certainly hope to get it going quickly, because, as you say, any change is going to require time for Elections Canada to adapt and respond to in order for it to be in place for the 2019 election.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, are you saying that the other parties are holding up formation of the committee?
There are ongoing discussions on the mandate and engagement of that committee, but we certainly hope that it will be up and running in short order, because it's important that parliamentarians, and indeed all Canadians, along with experts of all types, have an opportunity to weigh in on what is fundamental to our Canada, to our country. The fact is, electoral reform is not just about how we vote. It's about how we elect good governments that reflect the values and priorities of Canadians, how they remain accountable to those Canadians, and how they conduct themselves both in campaigns and as governments. These are value questions that I think everyone needs to be engaging in around the future of our electoral system, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing robust and responsible discussions both around the committee room, but also in town halls across the country.
Denis Bellavance, La Presse.
Oui, bonjour, M. Trudeau. Une des demandes
Good morning.
c'est de lever les visas.
There is a question relating to visas. Is this something that's going to be resolved as relates to Mexico? Answer: well, this is a priority for the government. We are working hard on this file at the moment, and we hope that we will have good news to announce in the weeks and the months to come. Question before the visit? Answer: yes. Question with regard to Cuba. The Americans are establishing quite close ties with the country. I have the impression that we are lagging a little bit behind. Answer: no, we are decades ahead in terms of our relationship with Cuba. We have economic ties, friendship ties, and these are ties that are very well established. I think that it is good news that the Americans that are starting to establish ties with Cuba, but Canada is an economic partner of Cuba. We have institutional partnerships, educational partnerships, and we are going to continue in this vein because I think it is important in the evolution of our part of the world. It's important for our hemisphere to have good relations between Canada and Cuba, and also between the United States and Cuba. But Canada has a long-standing tie with the countries, and that will continue.
Mr. Trudeau, Donald Trump seems to be making, he's the presumptive Republican candidate for the nomination. Given his stance on free trade, on North American free trade, how do you plan to deal with that?
I think one of the things that I've highlighted is that the relationship between Canada and the United States goes beyond any two individuals. And one of the things that any American president and any Canadian Prime Minister will always agree on is the need to create economic growth and prosperity for our citizens. And we all know that trade is an important part of creating that economic prosperity, and the level of integration between the Canadian and American economies is unlike anything else seen anywhere else in the world. I look forward to working closely with whoever gets elected to the American presidency for the betterment of Canada, of North America, and indeed our influence in the world.
I'm just going to grab Tom's follow-up question, if that's okay, since we're both from the CBC. Sir, I was interested in what you were saying about Ms. May in French. You said not, if I understood correctly, that you shouldn't link what is happening in Alberta, or that you can't link what's happening in Alberta to climate change, but you seem to be saying in French that we ought not to have that discussion. Can you just explain, please?
Well, it's well known that one of the consequences of climate change will be a greater prevalence of extreme weather events around the planet. However, any time we try to make a political argument out of one particular disaster, I think there's a bit of a shortcut that can sometimes not have the desired outcome. There have always been fires. There have always been floods. Pointing at any one incident and saying, well, this is because of that, is neither helpful nor entirely accurate. We need to separate a pattern over time from any one event, and what we are focused right now on is giving the people of Fort McMurray and across Alberta the kind of support that they need right now and in the months and indeed years to come as we all rebuild.
Fanny Olivier, Presse canadienne.
Good morning. I would like to have a question for Abadi. Your foreign minister said that you're working hard on this file. Could you tell me what you're doing on Raid Badawi? Answer, as you know, I met with the wife of Mr. Badawi a few years ago to say that this situation is one that worries me greatly, and that as Prime Minister, I work closely with Mr. Dion, our Foreign Affairs Minister, to ensure that everything that has been done for Mr. Badawi and to ensure his freedom is indeed being done. I also have a question on Bill C-152. This bill was just waiting royal sanction, royal assent. We're still waiting for this royal assent. I am wondering if this is going to go ahead or whether it's going to be an entirely new bill. Answer, well, this is a subject that I've already spoken about. We're already in agreement with the objective of Bill C-152. But in studying this bill, that we see that there are difficulties in terms of compliance with the Charter, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Liberties. As you know, we are a government that is fundamentally committed to respecting the Charter, and we are working with the Justice Minister to decide, to look at whether we could improve Bill C-152 as it is, or whether we would have to approach the question through another means. But we are fully in agreement with the objectives, and we are working against human trafficking.
Your election platform put a lot of emphasis on improving North American relations as key to prosperity for Canada. Now you have the President of the United States coming to Canada less than 6 months before an election. An election campaign that now is turning quite protectionist with Donald Trump and even on the Democratic side. So what's your plan to deal with this new environment in the United States?
Well, the fact of the matter is I look forward to continuing the ongoing discussions that I've been having with President Obama since I got elected, and indeed with between members of my cabinet and of his administration. We have made headway on a broad number of files, and we will continue to. As for relations with the next American president, I look forward to working closely on many issues that we have in common, regardless of who that may be, and ensuring that we're building the kind of future that will involve trade, that will involve economic growth and innovation. These are things that we know lead to better outcomes for citizens, and these are things that we're going to be able to line up on.
Do you worry about a protectionist turn in the United States?
I think one of the things we see in any electoral campaign, including electoral campaigns here in Canada, is a bit of rhetoric around protectionism that tends to dissipate a little bit once the election has come and gone. Always, it's important to protect local jobs and create economic growth that's going to benefit communities. And in government, governments find an awful lot to agree on in terms of how to get that done.
Madeleine Blais-Morin, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. On a entendu récemment plusieurs critiques au sujet de votre projet de loi sur l'aide médicale à mourir, notamment
criticism of the physician-assisted dying bill, particularly as regards the criteria that a person's death must be reasonably foreseeable. There are people that feel the bill is too restrictive. Are you prepared to make any changes? Answer: well, we know that any bill that got put forward would raise comments. Some people would be supported, others wouldn't. We have taken a responsible approach to this legislation. We recognize how difficult this task is that we're facing as a country. There are certainly people who would like us to go a lot further with this bill, and there are people who would like us to be even more restrictive within the legislation. What we are doing then is we're studying the matter in committee. Different groups, different organizations are studying the question, offering their views, and I am looking forward to seeing what the results of these deliberations will be in committee. The reality is that we are at a very important stage where we're seeing the beginning of allowing physician-assisted dying, and we have to be responsible when we're doing this. This is a big change for the country. Question: a few moments ago, you said that you believed in the Canadian Charter, that you were profoundly attached to it. Do you believe that this bill is Charter compliant? Answer: well, we have not got time. Because we want to meet our deadline on the 6th of June. We want to make sure the work gets done. A government has a responsibility always to work with the experts in the department to make sure that what we're doing is indeed constitutional. And the Justice Minister had a press conference, issued a release on the matter of the constitutionality, and said that we have a firm belief that this bill is indeed Charter compliant. So I certainly could not say, oh, now we'll have to check with the bill. I do not agree that every time we have a bill that we should go to the court and ask them if they believe our bill is Charter compliant. To do so would be to undermine the government's role.
Josh?
Hi, Prime Minister. There were record low trade levels today, the largest trade deficit on record. I'm wondering if we can get your comments on that and whether you think that's a bad sign for the economy, if you're comfortable with these levels the way they are.
One of the things some of you may have picked up on is I've been fairly engaged internationally over the past 6 months to try and ensure that Canada is seen as a strong and active and valuable trading partner on the world stage for drawing in investments, for highlighting Canadian products and produce around the world. These are the kinds of things that we're very much engaged in. We've seen that over the past years, even though there are trade deals signed, there hasn't always been the kind of follow-up, letting Canadian businesses know, for example, about the opportunities that signed trade deals offer to them. So we're very much focused on the kind of follow-up. We're excited about the fact that CETA looks like it's approaching a positive outcome, which will be very, very good. But we know that just signing and ratifying isn't the be-all and end-all. We need to continue to engage and promote trade and create opportunities for Canadian businesses to expand their reach around the world. And that work there is something that we are very serious about engaging in.
Do you think the economy is healthier if that trade deficit shrinks? Is it a concern to you?
Canada is a trading nation. We rely an awful lot on shipping our goods and services to markets around the world that are invariably a lot bigger than ours. So we do well when we trade well, and increasing Canada's trade is an off-stated goal of this government.
Hélène Buzetti, Le Devoir.
Early, Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader, said that you felt that some of that you perhaps shared a view that she had, that some of the high-ranking public servants were perhaps overly influenced by the 10 years under Conservative rule. Do you have this feeling? Answer. I find this disappointing. I cannot stress often enough that we have a professional, non-partisan public service, so I find that this disappointing that this is her view. What I have found over the past 6 months is that we have a public service that are ready to adopt new means of working, to turn more towards science, to focus on concrete results that we can deliver for Canadians, rather than simply making announcements that are done for image's sake. I'm extremely proud of the public service that we have in our country, and I can assure you that this public service that we have is working extremely hard and is very committed, very active, working with us to deliver the promises that we made and the promises that Canadians voted for in the last election. Question. You said there's always room to improve, and you've spoken about transparency. Is this because you feel there's been criticism about transparency in the budget? Answer. Well, we are certainly working with the Parliamentary Budget Office to ensure that they have all the necessary information to inform parliamentarians, to inform the Canadian public about the decisions that have been made by the government. We are in a situation, we inherited a process from the previous government, and for a 10-year period, transparency wasn't the way that things were done. And so, yes, we are making changes. Obviously, when we're talking about something like transparency, you can always do better, and we're always open to suggestions to what can be done. We want to show that Canadians can have full confidence in their government, and we want to show also that we have confidence in Canadians. Thank you. That was the last question. I understand. One last question? Very well. No, questions over. No more.
I'll stand up because I got in trouble for not standing up the last time, sir. Twice you've taken the cabinet out of Ottawa to other parts of the country where they found that the local sites include the British management consultant Sir Michael Barber. Sir Michael's technique, deliverology, is not rocket science. He says that the success of long-term reforms depends on publicly stated targets and publicly available data to show progress towards the targets. On which of your long-term reforms have you instituted these two measures, publicly stated targets, publicly available data to show progress towards targets?
Well, I mean, we stated clearly a number of key targets around growing the middle class, growing the economy, creating growth for the economy. That was at the heart of our election platform, which we will certainly be judged upon. But how you actually quantify, well, is the middle class growing? Are we creating a better way to value diversity in our country? Do people appreciate that diversity is a source of strength, not a source of weakness? Is a question that we've spent a significant amount of time at those working sessions, but also internally at Cabinet with Treasury Board to start putting forward concrete metrics on. How we actually figure out whether what we're doing is having a positive impact on the lives of Canadians isn't something that governments have spent a tremendous amount of time worrying about in the past. A lot of energy is placed on announcements. Oh, we were investing $20 million in this project, and the follow-up a year later or 2 years later to say, well, X number of people have had their lives affected positively by that investment isn't always part of the operations or philosophies of government. So we're very much trying to get to a place where we're measuring results. And a lot of the challenges we're facing is establishing procedures within departments to set a baseline of metrics. If we want to know how we're going to improve, how are we actually establishing what the current situation is? How do Canadians feel about diversity? How much opportunity is there for young people to find good jobs now? What is workplace retention like after 65? Various measures that we're setting in that we're going to be able to follow so that we can demonstrate that, yes, the decisions we're taking, the governance we're putting forward is having a meaningful, measurable impact in improving the lives of Canadians. And it's a shift that requires both a political lens, but very much a public service engagement. And Treasury Board, which has already had long-standing a role around measuring what government does and how the operations fold, is being enhanced and boosted in its functioning, along with our agenda and results focus within the Prime Minister's office. So I don't have specific examples for you right now, but that is very much the work that we have been engaged in over the past 6 months.
I could take, to follow up, one file that may apply or may not on the question of whether the federal government will offer aid to Bombardier. What's your goal on this file, and how will we know when you get there?
My goal is to have a strong and vibrant aerospace industry in this country, both in the short, medium, and long term. These are good jobs. These are innovative jobs that have an impact not just here in Canada, but around the world. And having important companies with a global footprint like Bombardier create those jobs here at home is an important part of the kind of economy we need to build. So the lens that we, or the approach that we take on this is very much, are we creating conditions for success in the medium and long term that is going to lead to good jobs, that is going to lead to a vibrant and thriving aerospace industry in Canada? That is certainly our hope, and that is the nature of the conversations we're having right now with Bombardier.
What is your no appoint some judges? You're missing 38 of them.
I think we're out of time now.
And your judicial advisory councils are completely empty from Toronto.
So, merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.
Merci.
Merci, madame.